Chris Picks here with Will Justin, who is a 27-year-old political, I guess, activist, maybe starting, I don't really want to use that word, but starting his own, or part of a group that's starting their own party. I believe it's called the Conservative Unity Party, or I'll let him tell you just about a minute. Hill works for a plastic manufacturing company and seems to be very involved in politics. Justin, thanks for coming on, man, and meeting with me today.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about this. What was the name of the Conservative Unity Party, or
It's just called the Unity Party of America.
Unity
So
Party of?
yeah, it's neither right nor left. It's a centrist political party.
Okay. Oh, all right. So I'm totally confused. Sorry for. I guess I read so many things, I get stuff confused. So you're wanting. So what you're wanting a party for middle ground people instead of us going so far to the right and so far to the left.
Right, exactly. We want to reach out to those people that are in the middle or that are a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left. Because, those people are really the most underserved segment of our population in both the state and the country.
Well, when I was a young man, the Republicans and the Democrats, well, first of all, they were nowhere near as right or as left as what they are today. I mean, somebody like Bill Clinton couldn't win the Democratic nomination, or Bob Dole couldn't win the Republican, but these guys were friends and they reached across aisles and worked together. And now there's no bending at all in this.
No, there is no bending, and it's really a shame that we can't come together and move forward as a country because both parties are so set in their extremist ways.
And it doesn't seem to be getting any better either. It seems to just continue to polarize more and more of the segment. How many? When did your party get started?
It got started, I believe, in 2004. We had our chair, Bill Hammond, run for president that year. He is no longer our chair. We're currently in elections for a new chair for the party. But it started out with him wanting to unite people and run as a centrist candidate.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that'd be the first step, is to have a serious candidate. I mean, I know you're. Well, let's see. Yeah, you'll be too young to remember it, but I really thought that in '92, Ross Perot had the most legitimate shot of creating a third party, and I guess he just lost interest or whatever. But I mean, that the Reform Party had a really good shot there for a few years, because it was kind of like that. It was neither really right nor left. Had a lot of centrists in it. How does a third party become legitimate? I mean, because I was talking to some of my libertarian friends, and I thought that they would have became a party that would have been legitimate by now, but it's still hovering around 4 or 5% of the vote. What steps is your party going to take to reach out to those middle class voters and say, hey, here's another option?
Well, the first step is growing the party locally. We want to focus on the local towns, the cities that are forgotten. You can see it even in our state, the state focuses mainly on Montgomery, Mobile, Birmingham, and Huntsville. They kind of have forgotten the Black Belt and the Wiregrass regions, and it's really a shame.
Yeah, you're right. There is a lot that is forgotten out of that, and especially with the Black Belt region. Alabama has some of the best hunting and fishing in America, and it seems like that's an untapped resource down there in the Black Belt. Just for those purposes right there, that could create tourism, more tax dollars. But sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, absolutely, I agree.
What type of issues do you have as far as I seen you just had a post a while ago about taking food taxes off groceries. I mean, where does your party stand with that? I mean, we always hear all the time food and medicine.
Well, groceries is something that everybody needs. We all need food, and there is no reason why it should be taxed. There are multiple ways we can eliminate the tax without having to sacrifice the funding to both education and general state funds.
Do you feel the same way about prescription medication too?
Um, to an extent, I think at least like the painkillers, I think those should still be taxed, but your average everyday medicines like EpiPens, insulin, stuff like that, that should not be taxed.
Yeah, especially because that's going to hurt. In my opinion, I know everybody has to take medications, but that's going to hurt a lot of older people who don't have the on a fixed income, and taking that little bit of tax off could help them a lot. What about other things like where does your party stand on taxes? I mean, I know we have enough people that say abolish all taxes. Well, obviously we couldn't do that, or we wouldn't have any funding. But what are your policies on, or what are your beliefs when it comes to raising taxes for anything? Building a dome stadium, for example, like Larry Langford wanted to.
Ideally, the way we look at taxes is some of them are necessary. Obviously, there are some taxes that we can eliminate. As far as raising taxes, raise them where it's really underserved. So, for instance, like our property tax is only 3.3%, and the national average is 10%. Well, if we raised the property tax and eliminated both the grocery tax and some of the medicine tax that we have, that can more than enough supply the state with the funds that it's missing.
One thing that I'm not sure if you're aware of this, we're just not getting a bang for our buck. Alabama has the 15th largest bureaucracy of any state in the union, and yet we're falling behind the territories as 52nd. I mean, there's got to be math. How do we clean that kind of corruption up? Because something's going on with that money.
Exactly. First thing that somebody would have to do is obviously dive into that budget very, very deeply and see exactly where the funds are going. Obviously, there would need to be cuts made to each department. The biggest department I think that would need to be cut would be the prison system, just because we're now investing $2 billion in building new prisons for people that may or may not have violent charges on them. The math it doesn't add up, and it doesn't justify imprisoning people for petty criminal charges.
It's funny you said that. It's one of the things me and Bernie Sanders really agreed on is it's made for profit. I'm of the opinion that there should be no prison crime for violent offenders. I've known people who have got drug arrests before, and by no means by advocating legalizing cocaine or something like that, but they end up getting 2 years in prison, and for something you could have sent them to 6 months of rehab for, and probably cost less. And because all thing you're doing is creating revolving doors, or drug laws are just so draconian.
Yeah, absolutely. And something else with the drug laws you have to look into is why are people turning to these substances? Is it because they have some mental health thing that they're trying to cope with and they just can't get it off their mind, and the drugs are kind of the only way to do it? Or is it because, that's all that they know, that's what they've been raised by? We're just going to dive deep into that and figure out what the best way to solve that would be.
What does your party believe as far as like, well, I'll even go as far, both of them, medical marijuana, and then just outright legalizing it and taxing it. I see no reason why this plan has not been taxed to this day, and especially the medicinal purposes that come out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got no problem with medical marijuana. As far as legalizing it, we're still unsure on in Alabama at least. We do support decriminalizing it. That way, we don't have so many people being arrested and brought to jails and really clogging up the system and taking more taxpayers' money away from what it should be going towards.
So when you say decriminalizing, you're saying like a $25 parking ticket fine or something like that.
Right. So, like, instead of somebody getting arrested for, say, having, I don't know the measurements, we'll just say like an ounce of marijuana, you know, they'll just be let go and it won't be any charge at all.
I mean, because I've made this argument. Somebody, a candidate who is running for a position, I asked him about that one time. He said, "I'm against legalizing anything I have to tax." I said, "That makes no sense." I said, "So you'd rather keep our money tied up in the court system, the criminal justice system, and this right here instead of decriminalizing this and taxing it?" And just just I thought it was a ridiculous answer. What about the lottery? That's a big thing that's still every year in Alabama now. Is your party support the lottery?
Yes, we do, but only educationally. Um, that would, without a doubt, would make up the budget deficit as well for cutting a grocery tax.
You know, that's the problem with the lottery bills that's come up. The first one they had, I was a little bit younger than you, and it's when Governor Siegelman proposed it, and I voted against that lottery. And I remember one of the commercials was it said a lottery, not this lottery. And it was supposed to be based off the Hope Scholarship in Georgia. And then when you looked at this thing, it was like a family tree branching down that from the dollars, and it just went into everybody's pocket. And only like 12% of it was actually going to education, and that's why that got defeated then, or else we would have it. Again, the corruption in Montgomery is just rampant. Um, are you're not running for an actual office this year, correct?
Correct. I was going to run for city council here in Huntsville, but several of my accounts got hacked, and I decided to pull the plug on that until I could figure out what was going on with that.
Yeah, they don't want anybody to buck the establishment. We cut filming. I'll tell you a few stories. Uh, this happened to me. Well, another issue that came up, it's already passed. How does the Unity Party feel about constitutional carry?
We support the Second Amendment fully. Doesn't matter what the weapon is, doesn't matter how it's done. As long as you know what you're doing, that's all that matters. As long as classes are provided to those people that want to learn, that's all that matters.
So it sounds like you have a lot of. I mean, you do sound very moderate on a lot of issues. Let me ask you the big one that's been dominating America for 50 years and probably will 100 more, especially if they overturn it. Roe v. Wade. How does your party feel about abortion?
So essentially, the party line is we are pro life. I'm more of the sentiment of we need to look at our economic situation and figure out how we can better serve those communities that are being affected by it the most, and then make a ruling on it. I think as of right now, it should be left alone, and we should look towards solving those problems first before trying to do anything with abortion.
Okay, that's a fair answer. What back to the party and how many states did you say that y'all had people members in?
Yeah, we're in 46 states.
46 states, and you said 2004 is when it's created.
Yes, sir.
So I mean, you're not in all 50 yet, but you seems like you're making a slow, gradual rise up there ladder. I mean,
Right. We're not by any means the biggest party. I think last time they did a count, which was in 2020, we were only the 12th largest party in the country, which I'm sure by now that's changed a bit. I would estimate closer to maybe 7th or 8th largest.
I mean, baby steps. I mean, do you know how many party members you have?
Just off the top of my head, I would guess about 5,000 registered at least. Again, I don't have full access to every single state, just Alabama. Here in Alabama, we are present in 2 counties, both Madison and Shelby.
You know, the, the I think one of the biggest problems you're facing is of course lack of money, like because billions are in there, but only alternative media people like me are the ones that's going to report on it. If you can get this message out, I mean, there's a lot of people I think would really resonate with this right here. As opposed,
Absolutely. We do have, I think, 2 candidates running, one in Colorado and one in Indiana. I think one's running for, I want to say state senate, and the other is running for state house.
well, I mean, if you can get some more people, if you got that many, you can continue to get people to grow and continue to get people on the ballot. I mean, we've seen what happened, like what I mentioned, Reform Party. Again, that's probably a little bit too young for you to remember, but Jesse Ventura was elected governor of Minnesota from the Reform Party.
Yes, and I have actually been in a few of his rooms where he and his son have been talking, and he's a really good guy. I think he's definitely down the right path, even though he's no longer a serving governor or really fully political.
But it was just the idea that, hey, I don't really know if why Ross lost interest in it or nobody else could take, but it was his party. Once he got out of it, people had lost interest in it, and they just had nothing else to do with it. I know. How hard is ballot access? I know in Alabama it's extremely hard to get on it. Is other states difficult too?
It really depends on the state. I know in quite a lot of them we do have full ballot access. Here in Alabama, we're estimating we're going to have about 60 to 70,000 registered voter signatures, which is going to be very difficult to get.
58, but yeah, that's still a lot of voters to get. A lot of voters get to sign that, and then and that's just and when you gain ballot access, does that mean you gain full ballot access all across the state?
Yes, all across the state. We'll have it for that one election cycle, and if we don't meet the 20% requirement on a statewide election, then we have to do the ballot access again and get the 60,000 signatures for the next election after that.
Yeah, I had an interview with Secretary of State Merrill a couple days ago. I'm still trying to get that edited and downloaded up, and I was asking him about ballot access, and a lot of people are blaming the Secretary of State, and like he said, I don't write the laws. My job's just to enforce them. So I think and it's going to be hard to get the legislature to change that because they're not going to want nobody, a third party running against them. And I think the Libertarians have put up 69 candidates on the ballot in Alabama this year.
Yes, they put 69 up, but from my understanding, a lot of their candidates had to come to them to get on the ballot. They didn't go out seeking very many candidates.
Okay. With the way that we now have, well, you can see it back in political history that I love. I mean, in the 60s and 70s, you had, the Rockefeller Republicans, who was the liberal wing with George Romney, et cetera. And then you had the conservative wing, or they were the liberal, and then you had the conservative wing with, Reagan, Nixon, those type of people. And same thing on the Democratic side, you had the conservative wing of like George Wallace. I'm trying to think who the other guy was. It was but on the liberal wing, you had Hubert Humphrey. Do you think there's ever going to time, and now we're seeing that again today, where you have the anti-establishment wing and the pro-Trump wing, and then the progressive Democrats, and then the moderate Democrats. You ever see a time that we can break off into 4 or 5 parties and have like a European type system?
I do think that is possible, but the first thing is going to have to be really looking at the ballot access across the country. The two large parties basically are dominant over it. They set the rules. I think that's also a reason why we're not seeing any third parties really emerge, because they keep raising the bar and the requirements for them to get onto national debates, onto state debates, onto the ballots, and it's kind of sad that they're able to do that.
Because I think if I remember correctly, they had to make concessions to Perot in '92 because he was polling so high, but they didn't have to let him on the debate stage because I think according nationally, you have to have so many votes percentage from the previous time to be able to get on the debate stage. And
yeah, I believe so. From my understanding now, it's actually a percentage. I think it's like 15%, 20%.
I think what it is it's 20%, because when Pro ran again in '96, they would not let him on the debate stage because he didn't meet the threshold. He got 19% in '92.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what's it going to take to get some more candidates to run for the Unity Party?
Ideally, it's going to take a few things. It's going to take getting out there, being seen, politically active in communities. I know in November we're looking at going to the National Peanut Festival down in Dothan. It's kind of a good way for us to break into the scene.
I tell you what, just a suggestion too, and it'll be election time. Obviously, you won't have people on the ballot, but I would go around to some of these county farms. I mean, not county farms, county fairs. I mean, you got everybody there. Um, in the county, it's going to be there campaigning or talking and walking up, talk to people. Another thing I've suggested to some of the candidates that I've advised is show up to a baseball field, in the springtime, not after they enter, but because you don't want to bother the parents when they're watching their kids, but hey, hand them out of cards, they walk in. I mean, many people you can get in front of is just gonna many people you can get in front of is many people you're gonna get access to, and just keep fighting with it. Hopefully one day we can change things. Is there anything that you'd like to say that would separate you from the rest of the parties that voters would want to hear?
Yeah, absolutely. The main thing is we're tired of the infighting between left, right. We need to unite as a country, and so far, all the parties have been basically tearing the country apart. And the libertarians, they do have a good platform, but even their party is very divided and very splintered, and is tearing people in certain directions. So if that would probably be the best thing I could say. If you want to unite as a country, heal the wounds and begin moving forward, join the Unity Party. It's not a bad party.
No, and I just like the things that you said. You don't have to be. So why I'm saying this right, you don't have to be 100% for this. Maybe you can be 70% for it, but there's middle ground we can work things out on and come to the right solution. I mean, because we're 27, 28, 29, $30 million in debt, trillion, and I don't see any way of it changing. We're going to end up falling like Rome did.
Absolutely. Really the only way to solve it at this point would be to either choose to devalue the currency, or we balance the budget, make the necessary cuts, and start chiseling away that debt.
Could you? I would probably lose my mind, and I don't know. how one of these congressmen that claim to be conservative don't. If I went in that budget and I seen what was money was allocated, I don't know what I would do. I mean, because we took in $3 trillion last year in tax revenue. We spent out $3 trillion in entitlement programs. The budget was $6 trillion. We just went $6 trillion in debt.
Yeah, and we can't sustain that. We want to sit here and give money out to other nations to fund themselves, but at the end of the day, we're becoming bankrupt, and it's just going to cause us to go into a depression, which nobody wants to even mention that word because it's like the end all be all word.
Well, if America went into a depression now, there would be, I can't imagine what it'd be. It'd be looting, mass looting, mass taking over things, because America, let's face it, we're a spoiled nation now. We got to have everything now. We could not survive a depression like our grandfathers, and they could go out there and grow their own garden. The women could make the clothes. They get their own well water. Nobody could survive like that.
No, very, very few people can anymore. I myself, I do a little gardening. Even with my own budget, I am very strict because at the end of the day, I know if hard times come, I want to be prepared.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why somebody tells me I'm crazy, because every time I stop at one of my gun stores, I'll buy a box of ammunition. Not for not stockpiling or anything like that, but I want to make sure that every one of my pistols have ammunition in it, because I'm a big proponent of the Second Amendment. And that brings me to another question you already answered that about the weapons, because I was going to talk about the AR-15s, and somebody asked me why I need an AR-15, and I said because it says I have the right to have one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things, you can't pick and choose which part of the Second Amendment you want to follow. It is exactly what it says, the right to bear arms.
And I don't know what the answer is to mass school shootings. I wished I did. But somebody sent me with I was open carrying the other day, and they kind of my friend used to freak out about it, and I said, look, I'm not the person somebody needs to worry about. The one person I need to worry about is when walks in there with the trench coat on and has it hidden.
Yeah, well, the issue with the school shootings is, we're not examining the mental health of our students. And sadly, I feel like the ones that are experiencing that are greatly underserved, even by their counselors.
That is interesting that you said that. You're the first person who's ever mentioned that right there about students being their mental health. That's very interesting. I've never thought of that, and first person who's ever brought that to my attention. I'll be sure I'll touch on that. Was there anything else? I think that's all the questions I had for you. Is there anything else that you want to know, or you want the voters to know, or the people to know, or a website or anything I can put in the links to go to?
Yeah. Let me first say, the Unity Party, of course, does support everybody's freedoms. We support all civil rights. We have a strong platform. It's still developing. We're still open to all ideas. But if you would like to donate to us or even join, you can go to the unityparty.us/donate, and there'll be another / after that. You can set any amount you want to donate. If you want to join, you can just go to unityparty.usa, and it'll take you to join Unity Party, and you just select the state, and you can message anybody in the state that you want to join.
What I'll probably do is I'll get you to text these to me, because I'll never forget them. Now, do you have a title of the party, or are you just a member?
I am. I am the chairman of Madison County. We
Okay,
don't have a chairman yet for the state.
that's right. You told me that. So you said there was you said it was in two counties, Madison and Washington,
Shelby.
Shelby, Washington, Shelby. I don't know why I got that confused up. And yeah, and I forgot to tell you something when we stopped recording. But anyway, man, it's been a pleasure having you on. I'll get this edited up, and as soon as I do, I'll post it on the blog, and I'll give you a link to it too, and I'll teach you how to do the analytics so it gets to as many people as possible.
All right, great. Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you.